You are tired. Deeply tired. Not the kind of tired that comes from a long day of physical labor, where a shower and 8 hours of sleep resets the system. This is different. This is a heavy cellular drag that sits in the marrow of your bones. It is a fog that wraps around your prefrontal cortex, making simple decisions feel like wading through wet concrete. You wake up after 9 hours of sleep, and you are still exhausted. You look at your to-do list, the same list that used to excite you, the same list you used to crush before noon, and you feel nothing but a paralyzed, silent dread. You push, you drink the coffee, you try to force the engine to turn over, but the wall doesn't budge. You are experiencing a paradox that is driving you to the edge of insanity. Here is the contradiction. You are working harder than you ever have. The internal RPM of your mind is redlining. You are worrying, planning, stressing, and strategizing with maximum intensity. Yet, your external results, the needle on the speedometer of your life, has dropped to 0. You are putting in maximum input for 0 output. To the outside world, and perhaps even to the mirror, you look lazy. You look stuck. You feel like you are losing your edge, like the magic that carried you this far has suddenly evaporated. You've been silently carrying this terror that maybe you've peaked. Maybe this is it. Maybe you're broken. Stop. You are not broken. You are not lazy. And you are definitely not failing. You are obeying the laws of physics. What you are experiencing is not burnout. It is a precise, quantifiable, and necessary phenomenon in thermodynamics known as the latent heat threshold. In physics, this stop that you are feeling, this terrifying lack of forward motion, despite the massive application of heat, is the single most important moment of energy transfer in the universe. If you try to force movement right now, if you try to bypass this pause, you will shatter the vessel. But if you understand what is happening, if you understand the science of what your biology is doing, you will realize you are not stalling out. You are transitioning. This is thermodynamics confirmed. Why 99% burnout before the peak? We need to rewrite your operating manual right now. To do that, we have to look at the second law of thermodynamics. But we aren't going to look at it like academics. We are going to look at it like engineers of human potential. Most of us operate our lives based on a misunderstanding of energy. We believe in linear correlation. We believe that if we add heat, if we add effort, focus, discipline, and time, the temperature should rise. We expect to see the water get hotter. We expect to see the project advance. We expect to see the bank account grow. When we add energy and we see motion, we feel safe. This is what physicists call sensible heat. Sensible heat is comfortable. It is the heat you can feel. It is the heat you can measure with a thermometer. You put in work, you see a result. You go to the gym, you see a muscle. You send an email, you get a reply. It is linear, predictable, and validating. It makes sense to the ego because the ego loves evidence. But right now, you are not in a phase of sensible heat. You have entered the zone of latent heat. In thermodynamics, specifically when studying phase transitions, like turning water into steam, there comes a critical point. You are adding heat to the water. The temperature is rising, 210 degrees, 211 degrees. Progress is happening. But the moment you hit the boiling point, something bizarre happens. You keep adding heat. The fire is roaring underneath the kettle. You are pouring energy into the system. But the thermometer stops moving. It flatlines. The temperature does not increase by a single degree. If you were watching this without understanding physics, you would panic. You would think the stove is broken. You would think the water is broken. You would think, I am wasting all this energy and nothing is happening. But the energy is not disappearing. It is doing something far more profound than just making the water hotter. The energy is being absorbed into the structure itself to break the molecular bonds that hold the water together as a liquid. The energy has switched from temperature raising to state changing. It is going latent. It is hidden. It is doing the invisible work of restructuring reality so that the water can cease to be a liquid and become steam. This is exactly where you are. You are not depressed. You are in a phase transition. Your biosystem has stopped directing energy toward external output and has diverted 100% of your available resources toward internal restructuring. You are absorbing latent heat. You are breaking the bonds of your old identity, your old limitations, and your old ways of working because you are preparing to change your state of matter. You are trying to become steam, but you are terrified because you aren't acting like liquid anymore. Think of it like a firmware update on your phone or computer. You know the moment. You click, install update. What happens? The screen goes black. The interface disappears. You cannot make a call, you cannot open an email, you cannot check social media. To the uneducated observer, the phone looks like a brick. It looks dead. It is completely non-functional in the external world. But is the phone doing nothing? No. Inside that black box, the processor is running at maximum capacity. It is rewriting the kernel. It is deleting obsolete code. It is installing new drivers that will allow it to run applications that the old operating system couldn't even dream of handling. The phone is not broken. The phone is busy. It is so busy effectively rewriting its own brain that it cannot spare a single ounce of energy to light up the screen for you. You are staring at the black screen of your own life right now. You are experiencing render latency. You are trying to type emails and force conversations and crush it in the gym, but your internal operating system is at 99% usage installing the next version of you. And because you don't see the progress bar, because there is no external thermometer telling you that you are 85% complete, you interpret this black screen as failure. You start mashing the buttons. You try to force a hard restart. You chug energy drinks. You listen to motivational speakers screaming at you to grind harder. You shame yourself for not being productive. You are effectively trying to force your phone to make a call while it is rewriting its BIOS. And what happens if you force a hard restart in the middle of a firmware update? You corrupt the system. You brick the device. In biological terms, this is the catastrophic burnout. This is the autoimmune flare-up. This is the nervous breakdown. This is the point where the body says, if you will not let me finish this update in safety, I will shut the entire grid down until you listen. You have been fighting the most intelligent process your biology is capable of. You have been treating your laziness as an enemy, when in reality, that lethargy is a safety mechanism. Your body is practically screaming at you, restricting power to your muscles and your ambition, forcing you to sit down so it can finish the job of turning you into something more powerful. You've been silently carrying this guilt, haven't you? You look at others, the ones who are still in the sensible heat phase, and you see them moving, posting, achieving, and you feel this sickness in your stomach. You feel like you've been left behind. You feel like you are running out of time. But listen to me closely. They are merely heating up water. You are preparing to power a steam engine. The physics are not the same. The guilt you feel is the friction between your old identity, the liquid, and your new potential, the gas. The exhaustion is the cost of breaking the bonds that have kept you small. By the end of this video, you are not just going to feel better about being tired. We are going to dismantle the guilt scientifically. You are going to understand exactly how to allocate your energy during this critical window. We are going to look at the 3 signs that prove you are in a latent heat threshold, and I am going to give you the specific tools to facilitate this update, so you can finish the install without crashing the system. You are not stopping. You are buffering. And the program that is about to load is going to change everything. If you have felt this specific pressure, this sensation of intense heat and pressure inside, but zero motion on the outside, hit the like button right now. Do it as a signal to yourself. Acknowledge that you are not broken. You are simply in the phase shift. Claim your scientific alibi. Now, let's look at the data. Let's look at what is actually happening to your water. To understand why you are stuck, we need to leave the realm of self-help and enter the laboratory. We are going to look at one of the most fundamental graphs in physics, the heating curve of water. Imagine a block of ice at 20 degrees Celsius. You place this ice in a pot on a stove and you turn the flame on high. The flame represents your effort. It is the energy input. The thermometer inside the pot represents your external results, your visible progress, your income, your accolades. In the first stage, everything makes sense. You apply heat. The temperature rises. You work hard, you see results. The ice warms from 20 to 10, then to 0. The input matches the output. This is where most of us live our lives. We are addicted to this correlation. We believe that if we put in 10 units of hustle, we should see 10 units of success. This is called sensible heat. It is heat you can feel, measure, and validate. It feels fair. But then you hit 0 degrees, the melting point. You keep the flame on high. You are burning the same amount of gas. You are exerting the same amount of effort. But something terrifying happens to the thermometer. It stops. It flatlines at exactly 0 degrees. Minutes pass. You are pouring energy into the system. The ice is absorbing massive amounts of heat, but the temperature does not rise by a single fraction of a degree. If you were a scientist observing this without understanding thermodynamics, you would panic. You would assume the stove is broken. You would assume the thermometer is faulty. You would assume the physics of the universe have ceased to function. You are paying for the gas, but you aren't getting the heat. This is exactly where you are in your life right now. You are at the plateau. You are waking up early. You are executing the protocols. You are straining every neuron in your brain. And yet, the needle isn't moving. Your bank account is stagnant. Your body isn't changing. Your project is dead in the water. So, where is the energy going? Physics gives us the answer, and it is the antidote to your guilt. The energy is not disappearing, it is not being wasted, it is undergoing a conversion process. When water hits a phase change point, like turning from solid ice to liquid water, it stops increasing in temperature. It stops getting hotter, so it can change what it is. The energy you are inputting is no longer being used to increase the kinetic energy of the molecules. Instead, it is being used to shatter the molecular bonds that hold the ice together. This is the concept of latent heat. Latent comes from the Latin word latens, meaning hidden. The energy is going into the structure itself. It is working silently, invisibly, deep within the atomic lattice, snapping the rigid connections that define ice so that the substance can become water. If the temperature continued to rise, the ice would just be hot ice. It would never flow. It would never adapt. To become fluid, to reach the next level of evolution, the external progress must stop, so the internal restructuring can begin. You are not stagnant. You are in a phase transition, and right now, you are absorbing the latent heat of fusion. This is the biological reality of the plateau. It is the specific period in human development where all available biological and neurological energy is diverted from external production to internal restructuring. You cannot escape this. In fact, the more ambitious the transformation, the longer the plateau. Let's look at the next stage of the curve, because this is where 99% of high performers burn out. Once the ice melts, the temperature starts rising again. You become liquid water. You flow, you see progress. The temperature climbs from 0 to 100 degrees Celsius. You feel productive again. But then, you hit the boiling point. This is the big one. This is the transition from liquid to gas, from water to steam. Turning water into steam requires 540 calories of heat energy per gram. That is massive. It takes 5 times more energy to turn boiling water into steam than it does to heat that water from freezing to boiling. Let that sink in. The energy required to transcend your current identity, to move from a liquid state of working hard to a gaseous state of expansive leverage, is astronomical. And just like the melting ice, while this massive energy transfer is happening, the thermometer flatlines again. You are at 100 degrees. You are boiling. The water is turbulent. There are bubbles, chaos, and movement, but the temperature is stuck. This is the latent heat threshold, and this is where you are currently trapped. You feel the heat, don't you? You feel a specific vibrating anxiety in your chest. It feels like restless energy. You feel like you should be moving at 1,000 miles per hour because you have so much power running through your system. But when you sit down to work, nothing happens. You stare at the screen. You write a sentence and delete it. You try to force the outcome, but the reality won't budge. You interpret this flatline as failure. You look at your lack of external results, and you diagnose yourself with laziness. You start Googling signs of burnout versus laziness, trying to figure out why you have lost your edge. You haven't lost your edge. You are paying the energy tax of a state change. Your body is wise. It has realized that liquid you, the version of you that grinds, hustles, and works linear hours, has reached its maximum capacity. You have heated that version of yourself to 100 degrees. You cannot get any hotter as a liquid. If you want to expand, if you want to reach the exponential heights of steam, you have to break the bonds that keep you liquid. That feeling of stuckness is your body routing every spare joule of energy into snapping the neurological pathways of your old habits, your old fears, and your old limits. The heat you feel, that frustration, that agitation, is the friction of your old identity being dismantled. But here is the tragedy. Because we do not understand the physics of latent heat, we initiate a forced restart. Think about your computer. When you download a massive firmware update, a new operating system that changes how the machine processes data, what happens? The screen goes black. A loading bar appears. The fans might spin up, making noise, but the interface is dead. You cannot check your email, you cannot write code, you cannot watch videos. The computer has ceased its primary function. If you didn't know a software update was happening, you would think the computer had crashed, you would think it was broken. So what do? You mash the power button, you try to force it to reboot, you scream at it to get back to work. In your life, this looks like caffeine overload. It looks like sleep deprivation. It looks like shame-fueled discipline. You see the flat line of the latent heat phase, you panic, and you try to force the temperature to rise by adding more pressure. You are adding heat to a sealed vessel that is trying to restructure. In thermodynamics, if you prevent the phase change but keep adding pressure, you don't get steam. You get an explosion. In biological terms, this is the nervous breakdown. This is the adrenal collapse. This is the sudden, unexplained autoimmune flare-up. This is your system screaming, I am trying to rewrite the code, and you keep trying to run the old program. You corrupt the file. By refusing to allow the stop, you abort the update. You cool back down, you return to being liquid water, and you lose the chance to become steam. You go back to the hustle, working harder and harder, but never breaking free of the container. We need to reframe this immediately. You are not experiencing a breakdown. You are experiencing render latency. Think of streaming a 4K movie on a slow internet connection. Sometimes the screen goes black. The little circle spins. The movie isn't broken. The data is still flowing. In fact, the data is flowing faster than ever to fill the buffer. The system has paused the playback to ensure the rest of the movie plays at high quality. Your life is buffering. The exhaustion you feel is not a lack of energy. It is a reallocation of energy. You feel tired because your brain is hoarding ATP, cellular energy, to build new neural superhighways. It is pulling power from your muscles, from your social drive, and from your motivation centers to fuel the deep subconscious construction work required for your next level. You feel lazy because your operating system is in install mode, and you cannot run heavy applications while the kernel is being patched. This is the intellectual clarity you need to hold on to. The flat line is not the end of the road. It is the bridge. The silence of your ambition right now is not death. It is the silence of the cocoon. Inside it looks like goo. It looks like chaos. It looks like nothing is happening. But if you were to cut that cocoon open because you wanted the butterfly to fly now, you would kill it. You are in the latent heat threshold. The bonds are breaking. The structure is changing. Stop trying to boil the ocean with a matchstick. Stop trying to force the temperature to rise when physics demands it stays flat. You are not broken. You are just busy at a molecular level that your ego cannot see. Now that we understand the physics, we have to look at the psychological cost. Because even if you know this intellectually, it is terrifying to feel your passion die. Let's look at why your brain is terrified of this change. Here is the fundamental law of structure that governs your current misery. Structure dictates function. You are currently trying to achieve steam results while maintaining a liquid structure. It is physically impossible. This is the root of your suffering. You are looking at the next level of your life, the expansion, the freedom, the high-velocity impact, and you are trying to reach it by dragging your current heavy, dense self up a hill. You cannot drag water into the sky. You have to boil it. This brings us to the great revelation of the latent heat phase. The exhaustion you are feeling right now is not a lack of fuel. It is the specific energetic cost of furnace-breaking bonds. Think about water molecules in a liquid state. They are cohesive. They stick together. They flow, but they are heavy. They are bound by intermolecular forces. To become steam, to become gas, those bonds must be snapped. Where do you think your energy is going? You are frustrated because you are pouring energy in, but you aren't moving forward. That is because the energy isn't being used for motion, it is being used for destruction. You are dismantling the molecular structure of who you used to be. This is violent work. It is invisible, internal violence. You have been silently carrying this specific type of fatigue. It's not the tiredness of a long run. It's the tiredness of a civil war happening in your cells. You sit down to do work that used to take you 20 minutes, and 3 hours later, you are staring at a blank screen, brain-fogged, feeling a deep, vibrating anxiety in your chest. You interpret this as a loss of discipline. You think you are getting lazy. You think you are hitting a plateau in life that you need to brute force your way out of. But physics says otherwise. If you were a pot of water on the stove reaching 212 degrees Fahrenheit, and you suddenly stopped boiling because you felt guilty about not moving, you would cool down. You would rebond. You would stay liquid forever. Your lack of motivation right now is not a defect. It is a highly intelligent biological safety mechanism. Imagine a city power grid. If the city needs to do a massive overhaul of the main generator, it cannot keep the streetlights on. It creates a brownout. It cuts power to the non-essential districts to route every available volt to the core infrastructure project. Your ambition is the streetlight. Your daily routine is the neon sign. Your body has cut the power to them. You are trying to flip the switch back on. You are drinking more caffeine, listening to motivational speakers, screaming at yourself in the mirror to get back to the grind. Stop it. You are tripping the breaker while the electrician is holding the live wire. This is how high performers give themselves autoimmune diseases. This is how you fry the motherboard. The system has diverted resources for a reason. You are in a rewrite phase. The code of your identity is being deleted and replaced. This changes the entire game of how you operate. The old paradigm, the liquid paradigm, was about time management. How much can I squeeze into an hour? How fast can I flow? The new paradigm, the phase transition paradigm, is about energy containment. This is the hardest part for people like you. You are used to being the machine that outputs. Input equals output. You put in effort. You get out results. But in latent heat, the equation changes. Input equals reignite transformation. You must become a pressure cooker. Have you noticed a desire to withdraw? A sudden irritation with small talk? A feeling that your friends, your colleagues, even your family are draining you? You feel like you are screaming in a soundproof room and you just want everyone to leave you alone. That is not depression. That is the physics of containment. Phase transitions require a closed system. If you want to boil water, you put a lid on the pot. If you leave the lid off, the heat escapes. The energy dissipates into the room, and the water never gets hot enough to turn into steam. It just evaporates slowly, wastefully. When you vent your frustrations, when you force yourself to go to social events you hate, when you over-explain your struggle to people who don't understand the physics of high performance, you are taking the lid off the pot. You are releasing the very pressure you need to transform. You need that heat. You need that pressure, the anxiety you feel, that internal vibration that feels like panic. That is the heat building up. Do not medicate it away. Do not distract yourself from it. Do not scroll through your phone to numb it. That heat is the currency of your ascension. This is the paradox. To the outside world, you look stagnant. You look like you are doing nothing. But inside, you are a nuclear reactor. Think of the chrysalis. We use the butterfly metaphor constantly in spiritual circles, but we gloss over the violence of it. When a caterpillar enters the chrysalis, it does not just grow wings, it dissolves. It releases enzymes that digest its own body. It literally melts into a generic biological soup. If you cut open a chrysalis halfway through the process, you won't find a half caterpillar, half butterfly. You will find goo. You are in the goo phase. And because you are in the goo phase, your life is going to look like entropy. The second law of thermodynamics states that as energy transforms, entropy, disorder, increases. This is why, right before a massive breakthrough, everything breaks. You might have noticed this recently. The car breaks down. The deal falls through. The relationship ends abruptly. The house is a mess. You feel like you are losing your grip on reality. You interpret this as bad luck or karma. You think, I must be on the wrong path because everything is falling apart. No, you are on the exact right path. The structure is destabilizing because it is about to be reconfigured into a higher order. You cannot build a skyscraper on the foundation of a cottage. You have to demolish the cottage. The demolition looks like a disaster, but it is actually progress. So here is the shift in strategy. Stop trying to manage your time. You cannot schedule a metamorphosis. You cannot put "become a butterfly" on your Tuesday to-do list between gym and Zoom call. Start managing your heat. Your only job right now is to protect the vessel, to keep the lid on, to endure the temperature rising without trying to escape it. You are moving from being a Choanim machine, designed for consistent linear output, to being a reactor, designed for critical mass and exponential expansion. A machine runs until it breaks. A reactor builds pressure until it goes critical. You are going critical. If you fight this, if you try to force your liquid self to perform steam tasks, you will rupture the vessel. You will burn out, not in the "I need a vacation" way, but in the systemic collapse way. But if you understand what is happening, if you can look at your exhaustion and say this is the cost of breaking the bonds, then you can relax into the fire. You can stop judging the goo. You can let the heat do its work. The bonds of your old limitations, your old salary caps, your old identity constraints, they are being melted down right now. But only if you stop taking the lid off the pot. So, how do we confirm this? How do we distinguish between a genuine psychological breakdown and a thermodynamic phase shift? Because to the untrained eye, they look exactly the same. They both look like failure. They both look like stagnation. But there are markers. If you were running a nuclear reactor, you would have a control panel full of gauges. When the core pressure rises, lights flash. You wouldn't panic and smash the control panel. You would read the data. Right now your body is flashing red lights on your internal dashboard. You have been interpreting these lights as evidence that you are broken. You've been looking at the check engine light and thinking it means the car is totaled. It doesn't. It means the engine is evolving. We need to look at the 3 specific system alerts that confirm you are in the latent heat threshold. These are counterintuitive. They feel like regression, but in the physics of phase transition, they are the only proof of progression. System alert number 1, the disinterest spike. This is the most terrifying symptom for a high performer. It is the sudden, inexplicable repulsion toward things you claim to love. You have spent years building a business or a body or a skill. You identified with it. It was who you were. And then, almost overnight, the taste turned to ash in your mouth. You look at the spreadsheet you used to obsess over and you feel physical nausea. You walk into the gym, a place that used to be your sanctuary, and you just want to turn around and leave. You stare at your passion project and you feel nothing, just a vast cold blankness. The psychological diagnosis for this is depression or loss of purpose. You panic, you think, I am losing my drive, I am losing my edge. But let's look at the thermodynamics. Remember the ice cube? For ice to turn into water, the rigid lattice structure, the bonds holding the molecules in place must be snapped. Energy is not being used to heat the ice anymore. Energy is being used to sever the connections that keep it solid. This is what is happening to your neurology. Your passion for your old routine was an energetic bond. It was a molecular attachment to a specific state of being. You cannot become the next version of yourself, the steam, if you remain bonded to the habits of the liquid. You aren't depressed. You are undergoing bond breaking. Your system is aggressively severing neural pathways that no longer serve the higher energy state you are entering. That sudden boredom, that isn't a lack of discipline. That is your biology recalling the energy it was investing in an old identity so it can reinvest it in the structural upgrade. Think of it like a space shuttle launch. As the rocket climbs, it has to jettison the booster stages. Those boosters were essential for the first part of the journey. They were powerful. But if the rocket tries to hold onto them while leaving the atmosphere, the dead weight will drag it back to Earth and destroy the mission. You are currently jettisoning a booster stage. The boredom is just the sound of the clamps releasing. If you have felt this specific sensation, where the things you used to love suddenly feel heavy, dead, or repulsive, I need you to stop fighting it for a second. Go to the comments right now and type phase shift. Let's see how many of us are currently shedding a skin we thought we'd wear forever. System alert number 2, the biological power down. This is the symptom that sends people to the doctor. It's the physical collapse. You are sleeping 10 hours a night, yet you wake up feeling like you've been hit by a truck. Your limbs feel like lead. Your brain fog is so thick you can't remember what you had for breakfast. You drink 3 coffees and your heart races, but your brain stays asleep. You go to Google and search, "Why am I so tired all of a sudden?" You start worrying about your thyroid, your iron levels, your hormones. And while medical checkups are always smart, for the people in this community, the tests usually come back clean. The doctor says you're fine, but you know you aren't fine. You are exhausted on a cellular level. Here is the engineering reality. You are experiencing system resource reallocation. Your body is a closed system. You generate a finite amount of ATP, cellular energy, every day. In your normal, sensible heat phase, most of that ATP goes to output. Moving muscles, solving problems, projecting charisma, getting work done. But during a latent heat phase transition, the priority flips. The reconstruction of your internal operating system, the rewiring of your nervous system to handle higher voltage, is incredibly expensive. It costs massive amounts of energy to rewrite your biological code. Think of a major city during a massive hurricane. The power grid takes a hit. The city manager has to make a choice. They divert all the electricity to the hospital and the emergency services center. The streetlights go dark. The residential districts lose power. The city looks dead from the outside, but inside the critical infrastructure, the energy is surging. You are the city. The tiredness you feel is just the streetlights going out. Your body has cut power to your social personality and your hustle muscles to route every spare ounce of ATP to the deep internal work of holding the pressure. You feel like you are in a coma because you are in the chrysalis. A caterpillar doesn't do calisthenics while it turns into a butterfly. It dissolves, it turns into goo. It is completely immobile because the transformation requires 100% of available resources. If you fight this, if you try to force the streetlights back on with stimulants and willpower, you blow the grid. That is burnout. Burnout is not the tiredness. Burnout is the cost of fighting the tiredness. System alert. Number 3. The entropy burst. This is the strangest one. This is when it feels like the universe is conspiring against you. You're already tired. You're already bored. And suddenly, life starts falling apart externally. Your car breaks down, your washing machine floods, you get into a stupid fight with your partner that ends the relationship. You lose a client, you drop a glass of water and it shatters. It feels like bad luck. It feels like you are being punished for being lazy. You think, I'm already down, why is the world kicking me? It's not punishment. It's the second law of thermodynamics in action. The law states that in any isolated system, entropy or disorder must increase before a new equilibrium can be reached. When you heat water to a boil, look at the surface. Before it turns to steam, the water becomes chaotic. It bubbles violently. The calm surface is destroyed. You are vibrating at a new frequency, and your old reality cannot hold it. The structures around you, relationships, contracts, physical objects, were calibrated to your old resonance. As you heat up, you create dissonance. Things break because they are incompatible with your new temperature. The relationship ended because the other person is vibrating at liquid and you are becoming steam. If you stayed, the pressure would have killed you both. The client left because their business model fits your old self, not your new capacity. This chaos is not a sign that things are going wrong. It is the demolition crew clearing the site. You cannot build a skyscraper on the foundation of a cottage. You have to destroy the cottage first. That destruction is messy. It is loud. It looks like a disaster. But it is simply site preparation. So when you look at your life and see the wreckage, the exhaustion, the boredom, the broken appliances, the silent phone, do not call it failure. These are the vital signs of a system that is functioning perfectly under extreme load. You are not crashing. You are not losing your mind. You are simply enduring the necessary violence of a state change. You are in the pressure cooker. And the only thing you need to do right now, the only strategy that works, is to learn how to survive the heat without taking the lid off. We have arrived at the implementation phase. Intellectual understanding of thermodynamics is useful, but somatic integration is required for the phase shift. You cannot think your way through a phase transition. You must endure it physically. Currently, your system is overheating. You are generating immense amounts of sensible heat, the anxiety, the racing thoughts, the physical restlessness, and you are trying to vent it. You are trying to cool down. You are trying to relax in the traditional sense. This is a strategic error. In thermodynamics, if you vent the heat, you delay the boiling point. You are extending your own suffering by trying to escape the pressure. We are going to do the opposite. We are going to execute a latent soak. We are going to seal the vessel. We are going to stop the external motion, trap the heat inside and force it to do the work of breaking your molecular bonds. This is not meditation. This is containment engineering. This is high-pressure physics applied to the nervous system. You do not need to be spiritual for this. You just need to be biological. Find a position where your chassis can be completely supported, sitting or lying down. It does not matter as long as your muscles do not need to fire to hold you upright against gravity. Close your eyes. Phase 1. The power down, system isolation. We are beginning the manual shutdown sequence. Imagine your body is a high-performance facility, a factory. For years, you have been running every machine on the floor at maximum capacity. The lights are blinding. The noise is deafening. You have been drawing power from the grid faster than it can be replenished. Walk to the main breaker box in your mind. It is heavy, industrial gray. We are not dimming the lights. We are cutting the circuit. Visualize the switch labeled output. This is the circuit that demands you produce value to justify your existence. The circuit that screams at you to answer the email, check the metric, fix the problem. Reach out, grab the handle, pull it down. Clunk. Feel the hum in your arms die. The vibration in your chest stops. The frantic need to do is severed from the power source. Now the switch labeled social prediction. This is the subroutine running in the background that constantly simulates what other people are thinking about you. The guilt of letting them down, the fear of being forgotten. It drains 40% of your processing power. Pull the handle. Clunk. The noise drops. The silence rushes in. Finally, the switch labeled future projection, the simulation engine that is obsessed with 5 years from now. It is burning fuel to calculate scenarios that have not happened. Cut the line. Clunk. Blackout. You are now in the dark facility. The machines have stopped spinning. Listen to the silence. It is heavy. It feels thick. You might feel a sudden wave of exhaustion that scares you. You might feel like you are sinking into the floor. This is not death. This is the cessation of resistance. You have spent decades fighting gravity. Now you are letting gravity win. Let the weight of your limbs pull you down into the earth. You are offline. You are safe. Phase 2. The containment. Pressure vessel integrity. Now scan your internal environment. Even though the machines are off, there is still heat. You feel it in your chest, in your stomach. A tightness, a vibration, a frequency that feels like anxiety or panic. The old you would try to fix this. You would try to breathe it away or distract yourself. Do not vent the steam. This heat is not a malfunction. This is the latent heat we have been discussing. This is raw energy that has nowhere to go because you aren't moving externally. Imagine your skin is a reinforced pressure vessel, like the steel hull of a submarine or the containment wall of a nuclear reactor. It is inches thick. It is unbreakable. Your job right now is not to cool down. Your job is to hold the container. Say this to your cells. I am the container, not the contents. Feel that anxiety in your solar plexus. Now, visualize it as pure, white thermal energy. It wants to escape. It wants you to pick up your phone. It wants you to pace around the room. Refuse. Keep the vessel sealed. Watch the pressure gauge rise. This is uncomfortable. It feels like you might explode. You will not explode. You are engineering the phase shift. If you release this pressure now, you revert to water. If you hold it, you become steam. Let the heat build. Let it stew. Let it cook. You are safe inside the pressure. You are not the boiling water. You are the steel pot. Hold it. Phase 3. The bond breaking. Structural rebinding. Now we direct the energy. In thermodynamics, latent heat is absorbed to break the intermolecular bonds that hold a substance in its current state. You are the substance. What bonds are holding you in your current limited form? Bring your attention to the heat in your chest. Direct that thermal energy toward your identity bonds. Think of the rigid belief that says, I am only valuable if I am productive. That is a molecular bond holding you in a solid state. It is rigid, it is cold. Direct the heat there. Visualize that belief softening. Like hard plastic touching a hot stove. It warps. It loses its structure. It melts. Think of the bond that says, I have to carry this burden alone. You've been silently carrying this for years, haven't you? Screaming in a soundproof room, waiting for someone to notice how heavy it is. Direct the heat to that weight. Burn through the link. You are not destroying yourself. You are liquefying the structures that are too small for you. Feel the sensation of coming undone. For the high performer, this is terrifying. You feel like you are losing your edge. You feel like you are becoming undefined. Yes, that is the physics. You cannot become gas if you insist on remaining a solid brick. You must lose your shape to find your expansion. Let the heat dissolve the need to be right. Let the heat dissolve the need to be seen. Let the heat dissolve the timeline you are obsessed with. Feel yourself becoming fluid, amorphous, drifting. The structure is gone, but the energy remains. You are floating in the latent void. Nothing is happening, and yet everything is changing. Phase 4. The reboot, safe mode protocol. We are going to bring the system back online, but we are not restoring the previous operating system. That version is corrupted. We are booting up in safe mode. In computing, safe mode loads only the absolute essential drivers required for basic function. No background apps, no complex graphics, just the kernel. Do not open your eyes yet. Set the intention for the next hour. You will operate with low power mode dignity. You will move slower. You will speak less. You will not multitask. You are a reactor that has just undergone a critical core dump. You are fragile, but you are clean. Visualize the breaker box again. We are not flipping all the switches back on. Leave social prediction off. Leave future projection off. Only flip the switch labeled present moment awareness. Click. A soft low hum. Just enough power to be here. Just enough power to breathe. When you open your eyes in a moment, the world might look slightly different. It might look sharper, or it might look distant. You might feel a strange detachment from the things that stressed you out an hour ago. This is not apathy. This is efficiency. You have stopped wasting energy on maintaining a solid structure that was trying to die. Open your eyes. Do not jump up. Do not check your phone. Look at your hands. Look at the room. Scan your body one last time. Notice the shift. Did you feel that? The heat shifted from panic to power. The moment you stopped fighting the pressure and started containing it, the vibration changed frequency. You stopped trying to be a frantic ice cube trying not to melt. You accepted the fire. You are now in the latent heat threshold. You are buffering. Stay in this containment. Let the rest of the world run around trying to stay cool. You have work to do in the fire. You have moved through the somatic experience. You have felt the containment. Now, we must operationalize this. Understanding the physics of latent heat prevents shame, but it does not guarantee a successful transition. You can still blow the engine if you operate incorrectly while the car is in the garage. You are no longer a victim of exhaustion. You are a phase shifter. You are a bioengineer managing a high-energy transfer. To complete this update without corrupting the file, we need to install 3 specific protocols. These are not self-care tips. These are system maintenance requirements. Tool number 1. The input fast. We call this the clean room protocol. Think about a silicon wafer factory. When they manufacture chips, the room must be absolutely free of dust. A single particle destroys the processor. Your brain is currently manufacturing a new identity. It is rewriting neural pathways. This process consumes a massive amount of glucose and ATP. Here is the problem. You are likely treating this exhaustion by consuming information. You lie on the couch because you can't work, but you are scrolling. You are listening to podcasts. You are watching the news. You are flooding a system that is trying to reboot. Every single tweet, image, or headline you consume is a data packet. Your brain must decode it, categorize it, and decide how to feel about it. That costs energy. Energy that is currently allocated to your transformation. If you keep opening applications while the operating system is updating, the update will stall. Or worse, it will crash. If you are searching for how to recover from burnout quickly, the answer is counterintuitive. You do not add more healing techniques, you subtract the noise. The protocol is simple but painful. For the next 72 hours, you enter a radical input deficit. No news, no social feeds, no educational content. You are allowed to output, journaling, speaking, creating, but you are not allowed to input. You will feel bored. You will feel an itch in your fingers to check a screen. That itch is the withdrawal of your dopamine receptors. Ignore it. Boredom is not the enemy here. Boredom is the clean room. It is the only environment stable enough for your new firmware to install. Tool number 2, the state check journal. In engineering, you never run a machine without gauges. You need to know if the pressure is within safety limits. In your life, you have been driving blind, pressing the accelerator simply because you felt guilty for slowing down. We need to distinguish between two states, sensible heat and latent heat. Sensible heat is when you work and see results. You send an email, you get a reply, you go to the gym, you see a muscle. The temperature rises. Latent heat is when you work and feel only pressure. You send an email, silence. You push harder and you feel heavier. The temperature stays flat, but the internal pressure builds. You need a diagnostic tool to know which phase you are in. Every morning, before you touch a task, you will log a single metric. Ask yourself, is my effort producing motion or is it producing pressure? If you are in a phase where effort equals motion, you have a green light. Push, hustle, go. But if you look at your life and see that effort is currently converting only to pressure and exhaustion, you are in latent heat. If you try to push through this, you violate the laws of thermodynamics. You cannot force water to boil faster by stirring it. You just disturb the process. When your log shows pressure, your orders are to hold. Do the bare minimum required to keep the lights on. Conserve everything else. You are not being lazy. You are respecting the physics of the phase shift. Tool number 3, the micro-rest protocol. Most of you operate on a binary switch. You are either on at 100% capacity or you are off, collapsed in a heap, unable to move. This is inefficient thermal management. It causes massive fluctuations in your system temperature, leading to the cracking of the vessel. We need to cool the engine while it is running. We call this active recovery. This is not a vacation. This is a cooling cycle. The protocol is to insert a system idle period every 90 minutes. Set a timer. When it goes off, you disengage for 5 minutes. This is critical. This is not meditation. Meditation is a cognitive practice that requires focus. We do not want focus. We want idle. Close your eyes, lean back. Let the brain go dark. Do not count your breath. Do not visualize a beach. Just let the system hang. Think of your computer when you walk away for coffee. The screen goes black, the fans spin down, but the session is still open. 5 minutes of idle prevents the thermal runaway that leads to the end-of-day crash. It signals to your biological survival mechanism that you are safe, that resources are available, and that it does not need to initiate a full emergency shutdown. You are building a high-performance machine. You cannot treat it like a disposable toy. Implement the clean room. Check your gauges. Idle the system. This is how you survive the heat. This is how you prepare for the expansion. You have the diagnosis. You have the data. And most importantly, you have the physics. The guilt that has been eating you alive, the voice whispering that you are lazy, washed up, or broken, has been silenced by the second law of thermodynamics. You are not stagnating. You are not failing. You are in the latent heat threshold. You are absorbing massive amounts of energy to break the bonds of a reality that is too small for you. You are not stopped. You are loading. But now, we must look at the horizon, because the heat does not last forever. Eventually, the bonds break. Eventually, the phase transition completes. And when it does, the rules of your existence will change so violently that if you are not prepared for the shift, you won't just burn out. You will blow the engine. Let's look at the water molecule one last time. When water finally absorbs enough latent heat to escape its liquid state, it becomes steam. Most people think steam is just hot water. Physics tells a different story. Steam is a completely different animal. When water turns to steam at standard atmospheric pressure, it expands to occupy 1/600 times its original volume. Think about that ratio. 1 unit of input creates 1,600 units of presence. This is the definition of leverage. This is the definition of exponential impact. In your liquid state, the state you are currently leaving, life was about density and containment. Liquid is heavy. It flows downward, obeying gravity. It requires a container to hold its shape. To move liquid, you have to pump it, carry it, or force it. This is the grind. This is the world of linear effort, where 1 hour of work equals 1 unit of result. It is exhausting because you are constantly fighting gravity and friction. But the gas state, the state you are building the capacity for right now, does not obey those rules. Steam does not flow down. It rises. It does not need a container to define it. It expands to fill whatever space is available. It is volatile, fast, and incredibly powerful. A steam engine moved the Industrial Revolution not because it was heavy, but because it was expansive. This is where you are heading. You're about to enter a period of your life where your impact will decouple from your effort. You will say one word, and it will do the work of 1,000 sentences. You will make one decision, and it will move mountains that used to take years to climb. You are moving from a high-drag, low-velocity existence to a zero-drag, high-velocity existence. However, there is a danger here, a critical danger, and this is why most people who actually survive the burnout phase end up crashing immediately after they recover. They try to manage the steam using the rules of the liquid. Imagine trying to catch expanding steam in a coffee cup. What happens? Pressure builds instantly. The cup shatters. You get burned. You are currently rewriting your biological firmware to handle high-pressure expansion, but your mind is likely still addicted to the safety of the cup. You are addicted to the grind. You are addicted to the feeling of resistance, because you have been taught that if it doesn't hurt, it isn't working. When you cross this threshold, things will become easy, suspiciously easy. Opportunities will align without you forcing them. Ideas will execute with terrifying speed. And because you are used to the struggle of the liquid state, you will panic. You will think, I'm not working hard enough. You will try to artificially reintroduce friction just to feel safe again. You will try to compress your massive, expanding vision back into the tiny, rigid container of your old 9-to-5 mindset or your old relationship dynamics. If you do that, you will create a pressure bomb. You will experience anxiety that makes your current burnout look like a vacation. Because you are trying to violate the physics of your new state. You cannot manage a gas with a bucket. You need a turbine. You need a completely different set of mechanical principles to capture and direct this new power. You need to learn how to operate in a state of flow, not force. You are about to become expansive. You are about to become 1/600 times more potent than you were last year. But if you try to hold on to your old liquid containers, your old need for external validation, your old need to look busy, your old need to suffer to prove your worth, you will explode. You need to learn the physics of the gas state. This is not just a motivational speech. This is a technical requirement for your survival at the next level. We have covered how to survive the stop. The next step is learning how to survive the speed. In the next transmission, we are going to dismantle the mechanics of that speed. We are going to look at flow state physics. We will break down exactly how to build the pipes and turbines required to harness this massive influx of energy you are currently generating so you can achieve exponential output with zero drag. We will teach you how to stop rowing the boat and start hoisting the sail. If you are ready to learn how to operate in that high-velocity state without shattering your nervous system, click subscribe. Consider the next video your user manual for the other side of this transition. You do not want to enter a high-pressure environment without the schematic. For now, return to the containment. Do not rush the boil. Respect the plateau. Every second you spend in this heavy, tired, unproductive state is a second you are loading potential energy into the system. You are coiling the spring. You are building the pressure. Let the world think you are sleeping. Let them think you have lost your edge. Let them run their race in the liquid, fighting the friction, while you sit quietly in the dark, absorbing the heat. They are playing a game of addition. You are preparing for multiplication. Rest deep, hold the heat, and get ready to rise.